For the first part of our discussion, we will define what is hazard. So in your modules, we have, I think, four or five definitions of hazard. So according to Canadian Center for Occupational Health and Safety, or the OHS, they define hazard that pertains to any source of potential damage, harm, or adverse health effects on something. When we say occupational health and safety, or the OHS, this is a multidisciplinary field concerned with the safety, health, and welfare of people at occupation. They are responsible in ensuring the overall welfare of an employee in a certain business or company. So OHS, or the health safety or occupational health and safety, includes the laws, standards, and programs that are aimed at making the workplace safe and better for workers along with co-workers and customers. So according to them, they define hazard as the source of any potential damage that can harm us, or that can has an adverse health effect on us or something. Okay, so when we say hazard, we have this two potential effects or factors that we must consider, that is potential to cause injury or illness to employees or visitors, meaning naaapektuhan yung mga tao na labas-pasok sa business. And aside from that, we also have potential to cause damages to property or the environment. Ang ibig sabihin nito, ang hazard ay mangyayari sa mismong business, not with the people or customer, but the business itself. We have the workplace, the area, the engineer, and how the building was built. Yun yung mga cause of hazard natin. When we say hazard, it is the cause of potential damage. And when we say risk, it is the probability or chance that we will be harmed. So what is the connection and the difference between this risk and hazard natin? So when we say hazard, it is anything that can cause harm, just like chemical, electricity, ladders. And when we say risk, how great the chance that someone will be harmed by the hazard. Okay, example, you are baking. This is my example before sa risk natin. You are baking something, tapos naluto na yung binibake mo na cake. And then, you want to remove the cake from the oven. So, kinuha mo yung baked products mo from the oven without using any gloves na gagamitin mo sa paghawak ng pan. So, anong mangyayari sa'yo? You will experience injuries such as burned, masinit na imam and everything. That is the risk, right? That is yung consequences of that situation. So, nasaan doon yung hazard natin? When we say hazard, it is the cause. It is the source of harm. So, ang source ng harm natin sa example ko ay yung mainit na cake sa oven. Yung ilalabas mo yung cake from the oven. Yun yung hazard. And the risk, it is the effect, it is the result of hazard. So, ang connection nila is that when we say hazard, it is the cause, ay yung dahilan niya. Yun yung uh, sanhi. And when we say risk, it is the effect or the result, yung bunga ng ginawa mo. That is the connection between these two. Remember ha, si hazard, cause. Si risk, effect. Okay? Since we are done with the definition, let us proceed with the different types of hazard. For that, let us know the different categories of hazard. We have two categories, that is recognized and foreseeable hazard natin. So when we say recognized hazard, you already encountered this kind of a hazard. Meaning, you already experience it. Naranasan mo na tong hazard na to. So you can recognize it. And when we say recognize hazard, nakikita natin siya sa mga industry, sa mga employer, and the common sense general work of people involved in a certain business or company. Another category we have foreseeable. So when we say foreseeable, you already saw this one. You can predict what will happen, what are the harm that may happen in this hazard. Na-predict mo na yung mangyayari sa foreseeable hazard. So, recognize and foreseeable. That you must know the difference between these two. Recognize, you already experience it. Alam mo na, na-recognize mo na. And when we say foreseeable, pine-predict mo pa lang yung mangyayari, pero hindi mo pa naranasan. Okay? So that is the difference between these two categories of hazard. In a certain workplace, company, or business, there are areas which are prone to hazards. So we have here a mnemonic, we have MIPS, meaning we can see hazard from the materials, equipment, environment, people, and system in a certain business. So, maaaring maging root cause ito ng mga hazard natin. Right. So since we are in hospitality industry, we are going to discuss about the different hazards present in our workplace. So here are the different types of hazard. Number one, we have hazardous substance, biological, physical, ergonomic, manual handling, and psychological hazards. So let us know what are these hazards that are present in our workplace. A type of hazard is hazardous substance in the workplace. So what are the substance that can cause hazard in our workplace? So when we say substances in the workplace, we refer it to the chemicals that we use or items that we use in the workplace, such as in cleaning the bathrooms, cleaning the dishes. Yun yung mga substances na ginagamit natin. Okay, we have here different types of hazardous substances. We have solid. So in solid, it includes detergents or any hard substances. So in detergent, especially if you are in the hospitality industry, sa mga restaurants natin, sa kitchen, dishes, yung mga used dishes natin or soiled dishes natin are kailangang hugasan, right? So, gumagamit tayo ng mga detergent. So, maaaring maging cause ito ng mga hazard because of may mga sabon na malalakas ang mga ingredients na ginamit doon sa detergent na yon. Kaya nagkakaroon tayo na minsan ng mga allergy, ng mga skin reaction kapag gumagamit tayo ng mga malalakas na detergent. Aside from solid, we also have liquid. Of course, sa kitchen natin, in boiling water, for example, you are boiling some stocks. And of course, boiling water are hot. Siyempre, di ba, mainit. So, ikaw, kapag hinawakan mo yon, you should make use of gloves or anything na linen na pwede mong panghawak dun sa linuluto mo, sa stocks na linuluto mo. Kasi kapag hindi ka gumamit ng mga equipments or utensils or even linens sa pagkuha nun, it can cause you hazard. Okay, aside from we have the boiling water, we also have the petrol. So when we say petrol, it is the yung mga chemicals na malalakas yung amoy and mababaho yung amoy that can cause also hazard to us. And of course, we also have chemicals. One example of hazardous chemical is we have the muriatic acid, which we use in the hospitality industry sa mga hotels natin. Ginagamit natin sa paglilinis ng mga CR, right? Kapag we have a skin contact or direct contact from that chemical, it can cause us hazard. Okay, aside from solid, liquid, we also have vapor. So sa vapor natin, we have hot air. This includes yung, if you observe sa mga kitchen ng mga restaurants, they have this, yung mga in-hose nila at ex-hose nila, kung saan lalabas yung init kapag nagluluto sila. Pwedeng maging dahilan yun ng hazard. Aside from that, we also have an example from the housekeeping department. Of course, sa housekeeping natin, they pinaplansya nila yung mga linen na ginagamit sa mga room. So, yung moist or yung vapor ng ng pagpaplansya nila, maaaring maging dahilan ng hazard. And last, we have also mist. Actually, this is not a really a dangerous cause of hazard. Kasi nagiging danger lang to sa mga taong may mahina yung baga, yung may mga sakit. Dito, mas ano lang, mas applicable lang sa kanila to, yung mist. Workers in a certain business or company are normally exposed to hazardous substance. True, we have direct contact with skin. Of course, if you make use of yung mga chemicals natin, strong chemicals natin, and we have a direct contact with our skin, it may cause hazard, pwedeng agsugat-sugat, sino at mapasamak. Another, we can be exposed by or through inhalation. So, kapag mang-angot tayo na i-inhale natin, pwedeng ma-experience natin yung hazard. Another, we have eye absorption. Of course, if you have a direct contact, no kung managigam kat chemicals, di imam inigam-igam mo, tapos inlidlid mo ka di mata, di mo malagip, nga inusar mo gayam, di imam nga nagigam iti chemical. Well, you will be exposed with these substances. And last, ingestion. Kapag you intake that certain substance. Siyempre, kapag nakain mo, may paunig mo, it can cause you hazard. Right? There is a certain hazard that might happen. Another type of hazard is that we have biological hazard. So, by the word itself, bio, it's living, alive. So, here are the different hazards that we may encounter in biology or biological hazard. First is infections. Of course, if you have cats, these are cats that are not treated correctly. These are open wound or cut wounds. For example, you have a wound, tapos nag-slice ka ng sibuyas, and little did you know na di gayam sibuyas ngayon nga is-slice mo kat napan ijay sugat mo. So, it may or might be infected by the onion. So, make sure that if you have wounds like that, takpan mo, saraan mo. Kaya nga may tinatawag tayong first aid kit, 'di ba? Sa mga trabaho natin, sa mga certain business or companies para mai-apply natin 'yon in case of we encounter this hazard. Okay, another we have bacteria. So, bacteria and viruses, these are microorganisms that are not seen by the naked eye. We can only see this to the bacteria and viruses if we use microscope. And these two will be further explained sa mga susunod nating discussion. I think sa part na food preparation tayo, may encounter natin si biological hazard. Okay. So when we say viruses and bacteria, these are normally transferred between people, including cold, flu, and hepatitis. Of course, if you are ill, tapos pumasok ka sa trabaho, and then you are tasked to work in the kitchen, you will prepare the food for lunch or for dinner. So what will happen sa mga pagkain? There will be a contamination, there will be a contact between you as a employee with fever, or you are ill tapos hinawakan mo yung mga pagkain, that can cause hazard. Okay, and last we have here food poison. Yes, you all know what is food poison, right? Kasi remember the explanation under risk, we have the food poison, or what we call foodborne illness. So this is unfortunately common in hotels and restaurants, often caused by improper storage and handling of food, unhygienic staff, dirty surfaces, and cross-contamination of cooked and raw food. Yes, if you have an improper preparation and improper procedure on how to cook that certain food or dish, there will be a hazard. A hazard will be present sa mga ganyan. For example, hindi mo hinugasan yung mga gulay na na ingredients mo, na linuto mo, tapos kinain ng mga customers, and then biglang sumakit yung tiyan nila. So there is a hazard and there is a risk already there. So that is under biological hazard. We have infections, bacteria, viruses, food poisoning. Right, aside from the hazardous substances, the biological hazard, we also have physical hazard. So when we say physical hazard, literally the physical, the environment, the nature ang tinatawag nating physical. So in physical hazard, we have here the noise, ingay, and this is usually common in nightclubs, even restaurants kapag maraming mga guests, 'di ba ang ingay-ingay, that can cause hazard too. And aside from the noise, we also have the lighting. Of course, if you are in the kitchen, example, you are in the kitchen and you need to cut the meats, pero yung ilaw mo, nakasipsip-ngit, haan nga nalawag. So what will happen? You might cut your fingers, your skin, you may cut anything na parte sa'yo if hindi mo nakikita yung ginagawa mo. Of course, since you don't see what you are doing, you cannot do it well. So, proper lighting, well lighting is very important, especially sa mga restaurants natin. Another example in lighting is that sa mga hotel, if you are cleaning sa hallway ng mga rooms and walang ilaw, di ba, it can cause physical hazard. Kasi, not just physical, even emotional hazard. Kasi, mabuting ka, nakakapkapsot ni sila, tapos agidap, agawan, agidap, agawan. Na agidap, agawan. Agidap, agada, agidap, ada, agada. So, mabuting ka pa, right? So, when we say lightning, or lighting, many hospitality venues have low lighting to create mood. Ang sinasabi kasi natin, when there is a correct or good lighting, it can create the mood, or yeah, the mood of the venue, the mood of the place. So this is common in restaurants and nightclubs. In addition, guests staying in hotels are unfamiliar with light switch locations and operations, and may injure themselves in the dark guest rooms as they try to find light switches. So, aside from the workers na maapektuhan sa physical hazard sa lighting natin, also with the customers. Siyempre, they are not familiar with the switches in the hotels, in the rooms. So, nung nakasipsip nga di room da, tapos kahit nangasin dyan, magmagna da agkarkaradap da agkarkarawada, edi kwan sa balit na karawada. Char. Okay. Another type of physical hazard is that the electrical. So it is whether electrical sockets, cords, or laying of extensions. Yes, this is very important because this may cause to fire natin kapag we have improperly wired extensions, electrical sockets, kapag hindi maayos yung pagkaka-connect niya, maari siyang mag-cause ng fire natin. Okay. Aside from electrical, we also have heat and cold. So when we say heat and cold, we are referring to the in-house or ex-house in the kitchen. Ito na yung sinasabi kong labasan ng init kapag nagluluto. So, normally, kitchens and nightclubs are locations of extreme heat. With guest rooms and fridges commonly cold, some hotels have centralized air conditioning and heating which transfers air to guest rooms. Guests do not have control over temperatures. Okay, heat muna tayo. Sa heat, kapag sobrang init sa kitchen, maaring masira yung mga equipment natin and it may cause hazard to the workers. And kapag sobrang init naman, like for example sa mga fridge natin, sa mga stock rooms, maaring masira yung mga supplies natin, yung mga ingredients natin. So, we must control, we must monitor the heat and cold temperatures of our establishments. Another physical hazard is we have dust. This is present in the housekeeping area. Yung mga housekeepers natin, they are exposed to dust, especially if they are cleaning the rooms, the hallways, lahat-lahat kapag naglilinis sila, they are affected with this physical hazard. Anyways, hindi lang naman sa mga hotels na nagkakaroon ng ganitong klase ng hazard, even in the restaurants. Okay. Aside from dust, we also have fire and explosion, which is common in kitchen and laundry areas. Especially if you are cooking, tapos na grabe na yung pagkakagamit ng mga equipments mo, hindi na nagpapahinga yung mga equipments mo, it may cause explosion. Pwede pong sumabog yung mga equipments kapag wala na pong pahinga sa paggamit ng mga ito. So nga, if you are using equipments, make sure na pagpahingain nyo din naman. Haanmet nga tuloy-tuloy nga usarenen. Okay? So, aside from that, we also have equipments. Kaya ng sinasabi ko kanina, overuse equipments can cause hazard. It can cause fire or explosion. And we also have the working space. Working space in hotels is often crowded. So, not just in hotels, but also in restaurants. Ang ibig sabihin nito sa working space natin, you should have an ample space to work. For example, you are a server, you are a waitress. So, magsaserve ka ng mga pagkain sa mga guests mo, sa mga customers mo. And the space, yung dadaanan mo, napaka unenough, unample, hindi ka kasya doon sa dadaanan mo in order to serve that dish to your guest. So, anong mangyayari? What will happen? You may, pwede mong matapon yung hinahawakan mo, yung sinaserve mo. So, for companies or business, they should make or arrange areas na malawak for the workers na mag-serve, magtrabaho sa kanilang mga tasks. So, you should have an ample working space. Tapos kayong agdidinong par, as dyan. Another type of hazard is ergonomics hazard. When we say ergonomics, this relates to the applied science of the equipment design. As for the workplace, it is intended to maximize productivity by reducing operator fatigue and discomfort. Yun po yung goal niya. For example, sa mga front desk, sa mga hotels, if the front officer is a 7-footer, 7-footer siya. Tapos yung table niya is 4 feet lang. So, parang hindi ka komportable na magtrabaho in the front office kasi hindi hindi compatible yung table sa height mo, right? So there should be a comfortability of the workers and with the guests also and customers. So under ergonomics, here are the different hazard na pwedeng maging dahilan. We have tool design. So when we say tool design, this includes furniture such as tables and chairs. So ito na yung sinasabi ko kanina. It should be there should be a compatibility with the workers and with the guests sa mga tools and tools such as tables and chairs natin. Another example is that sa restaurant, the designed chair is for maliit lang. As in, sobrang liit lang. Eh, paano kung may mga customer na yung size nila is beyond the normal size? Matataba. Eh, hindi sila kasya sa mga upuan na dinesign ng restaurant na yan. So, there should be a compatibility of the tool design sa mga guests and sa mga workers natin. Okay, another we have equipment design. The design of equipment including ovens, stove, vacuum cleaners. Ang ibig sabihin nito, when we say equipment design, the design of equipments. For example, the equipment is a squared equipment. For example, rectangle na lang. Rectangular shape equipment. Tapos, linagay mo dun sa space na parang circular siya. So, that can cause hazard also. Another, we have the equipment design is that and how you position the equipments. For example, yung oven, linagay mo dun sa part na malapit sa lutuan mo, sa mainit na part. So, that can cause hazard. So, we must consider the equipment design in our businesses or business. Under ergonomic, we have job or task design. So this is different jobs from different tasks that need to be performed. Some jobs, such as room attendant, require more physical movements that increase risk. A room attendant is required to lift beds, bend down to clean shower floors, and have greater contact with chemicals. Chefs are more likely to receive cuts and birds. So, ibig sabihin, yung mga actions natin, yung mismong trabaho natin can cause us hazard. Nagbigay na siya ng mga examples for the cooks, for the chefs. Since they are in the kitchen, they are responsible in preparing and cooking the dishes or the food. So, naghihiwa-hiwa sila, nagluluto-luto sila. So, what are the possible hazard there? What are the risks? Oh, marami-rami. We have cuts, slips, we have yung mga strained muscles nila in lifting beds, in bending down beds. Yun yung mga nagiging rason ng hazard natin. Another, we also have under ergonomics, workstation design. So when we say workstation design, this relates to the work area and its immediate environment and includes proximity of other people, access to light, air, and ventilation. Ibig sabihin, if you are working in a certain business, at least you must have a conducive working environment, well ventilated, well lighting, yung mismong area of your workplace. Dapat maayos yung station mo. Hindi hindi yung sobrang gulo na makikitaan mo na agad ng mga rest, ng mga hazard. Yeah? Okay. Another, we have manual handling. This will be further explained later on dito sa discussion pa rin natin. So let us move sa huli. We have the occupational overuse syndrome. This is injuries and strains that occur from continuing repeating the same activities such as typing, mapping, carrying heavy trays, and plates. Of course, if you are in a restaurant, 'di ba sa restaurant tuloy-tuloy yung pumapasok ng mga customers, yung mga kumakain. So, tuloy-tuloy din yung pagtatrabaho mo, yung paglilinis mo, yung pagbubuhat mo ng mga soiled dishes, yung pagse-serve mo, tuloy-tuloy din. So, that can be cause hazard to the worker. So, remember, kung may mga instances like that, make sure that you have time to rest. Magpahinga ka din. Have some break. Kasi may tinatawag din naman tayong break time, right? So, magpahinga ka rin. Kasi no, tuloy-tuloy lang obraem deta, mabanog ka. And worse, pwede kang magkasakit, nakasaksakit ka bagbagimon, and everything. So, make time to rest also. Hindi puro trabaho. Unless kailangan talaga. Especially kapag peak season, iba ang dami-daming mga customer kapag peak season. But, sabi nga natin, napapagod din. Tao lang tayo, napapagod din. So, make use of your time or make some time to have some rest. Right, so ito na yung sinasabi natin kanina na manual handling. This involves people physically moving objects with or without mechanical aid. So when we say manual handling, this includes the lifting, carrying, pulling, pushing. So in lifting and carrying, this is present in restaurants and hotels. Always remember the rule. If you malagip you pailaing the rule in lifting and carrying. That is, you bend your knees, not your back. Yung knees po natin ang ibebend, hindi po yung back. That is the proper lifting and carrying of objects in our workplace. Kasi kapag hindi mo sinunod yung proper way of doing that, you may experience strains of muscles. Ang sakit parmita likod mo and every parts of your body. So you must bend your knees. Okay? In pulling and pushing naman, one rule under this is you must extend your arms in pulling and pushing trolleys. Of course, kailangan mo yon. Haan nga tayo nakaas-asideg kanyam DJ trolley nga idordoron mo or goy-goy. You should extend your arms. Okay. So, last part, last hazard. We have psychological hazard. So when we say psychological, we are referring to the emotional, the mental, and social aspects of our personality. Meaning, hindi physical siya, kundi sa loob mismo. So we have here the shift work. Hospitality is one job that takes place 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Therefore, as staff members may be required to work in the middle of the night or for long hours. Okay, so I have observed that employees in a certain business, just like yung mga food establishments natin, meron silang tinatawag na 8-hour duty and the 12-hour duty. So, tapos adapin ka overtime da. So, kapag sobra-sobra na yung shift of your work, medyo mahihirapan ka, right? Especially kapag night shift ka sa mga 24-hour operation ng mga business. If you are a night shift, tapos tuloy-tuloy na night shift, syempre mahihirapan ka, puyat yung magiging kalaban mo dito. And therefore, parang hindi ka nagkakaroon ng healthy living lifestyle kapag palaging naka-night shift ka. That is shift work. Another, we have workload. Hospitality staff members are required to work hard in physically and mentally strenuous conditions. Okay. So there are workers na kumukuha ng mga overload works nila. So kapag sobra-sobra naman na yung mga trabahong ginagawa mo, sobrang mapapagod ka naman, isipin mo din naman yung sarili mo. Kasi minsan, mas mahalaga yung health natin kesa doon sa pera na nakukuha natin sa trabaho natin. Though money is important, yeah, money is important, but let us ensure that our health is safe. Hindi yung puro overload, puro overtime na ang ginagawa mo. That can cost you psychological. Baka gapot kinabanog mo, ket di mo pa mapanunutin dagitay dapat nga obraen. When all right, so we have also stress. This is a natural in all jobs regardless of industry, especially sa mga nasa food establishment and peak season. Ang dami-daming mga customers nakakapagod. So after the shift, after your work, siyempre mabanog ka, tapos agawid uuwi ka sa bahay nyo, aga-apad ang tupay lang, nagadupit problema, ma-stress ka. That is psychological hazard. Hazard under psychological is that dealing with the public. Hospitality is all about contact with customers and providing customer service. At times, this may be stressful as the customer does not speak your language, understand culture or costume, or may simply be irrational. So, if you are dealing with the public, and especially if you are working in business such as restaurants, hotels, there are customers na lagi kong sinasabi. Ang dami pong mga intoxicated customers. And always remember the heater policy and how you handle such customers. So, if you will encounter in the future such customer, very intoxicated customer, I know you will be stressed, but let us not, wag nating hayaang makaapekto sa atin yon yung mga customers natin. Let us deal with them with what is the reality. Like you are a worker, tapos customer siya, you handle it as a worker. You handle them as a worker, not for personal. Wag mo na silang i-accommodate in personal, as personal. You accommodate them as guests, as customer. So, remember yung heater policy natin every time you deal with the public. Okay, another, we have harassment. This is a person receives unwanted behavior. This is common in areas where patrons may be under the influence of alcohol. Well, I have this experience under harassment when I was in OJT. Nag-OJT kami kasi sa mga hotels. Aside from sa food establishment, we went also to some hotels. And uh, it's a kind of harassment kasi inutusan kaming maglinis ng room. The guests they ask us to clean their rooms. Tapos biglang sinara nila yung door of the room. So parang there is something wrong sa moment na yon, and good thing meron po kaming kasamang lalaki. May kasama po kaming co-OJT namin, co-worker namin na lalaki. So, you guys, if you will work in hotels, soon, or even in restaurants, make sure na hindi nyo mararanasan to. And if maranasan nyo man unexpectedly, you will experience such harassment, you report immediately, you inform the management immediately in order to attend, to solve, to make solution to that situation or to that problem. Okay? Three, under psychological hazard, we have discrimination. This is when a person is treated unfairly because of a specific trait, be it age, sex, race, or culture. Given the international environment of a hospitality businesses or business, this is also common. Example of discrimination in the workplace. You are working in a factory. Tapos, meron kang isang coworker na sobrang itim. So we cannot avoid that one, that there are people or workers na i-discriminate kanila. Like, ala, nagnisit na ti anana, na pinagnisit na tamit isuna, apay kastoy. Ay, nagbakit din isuna, pwede pala ag-retire. Yun yung mga discrimination na usually nangyayari sa mga workplace natin. So, next time, guys, or soon, if you will be working in a company and food establishment, make sure you avoid, you remove discrimination. Hanti ka agdildilaw, hanti ka di nga ag-discriminate sa bali nga tao. Remember, we are not perfect. Okay. Threat of danger. A person may have experienced an actual or received threat. This is related to the harassment. If you receive a death threat with regards to your trabaho, sa mga workmates mo, nakaka-receive ka ng death threat or threats of danger, then report it immediately to the right or appropriate person, to the management. This is, kapag nakaka-receive ka ng mga threats like this, parang hamukay ito yung panaguberan. Kasi mabuteng ka, right? Maaapektuhan yung emotionally and your mentally aspect. And last, we have the constant noise. Of course, kapag sobrang ingay sa workplace mo, hindi ka na makakapagtrabaho ng maayos. Hindi ka makaka-focus ng maayos sa trabaho mo. Right? So, these are the different psychological hazards that we may encounter in the future if we will work in a certain business or company.